Honestly, 2025 didn't have the strongest start to horror game releases, with only a few indie survival horror games sticking out to me as being good. However, there's still the second half of the year to look forward to, and with both major AAA horror games and indie survival horror games inspired by classic Resident Evil still set to release later this year, yeah, there's a lot to look forward to in the second half of the year. So on this episode of Nerdspace Games, we'll be taking a look at 10 incredible looking horror games that are still scheduled to release in the second half of 2025. Before we get started though, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel for more survival horror content. Also hit that like button if you enjoyed today's topic. Anyway, my name is Ruben with Nerdspace Games, and this is my top 10 upcoming horror games still to come in 2025. Let's get it. Number 10, Dying Light: The Beast. I'm a big fan of the first Dying Light game, but I'll admit the second game just didn't hit as hard as the first game did for me. However, Dying Light: The Beast looks to be everything that I wanted in the second game. The return of Kyle Crane, voiced by the iconic Roger Craig Smith. Gameplay that invokes both action horror and survival horror in a way that's addicting and makes me want to stay invested in this game long after I complete the story. And speaking of which, a more interesting and immersive story that keeps me intrigued from start to finish. Everything about this game looks to be exactly what I wanted from the second installment of the series, and if we can just capture the essence of the first game complete with improvements to combat and, well, parkour of course, then Dying Light: The Beast looks to revive my faith in the franchise once again. Also, Kyle Crane becoming the Beast, I'm all about that gameplay for sure. Anyways, Dying Light: The Beast looks to release on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC on August 22nd of this year. Number 9, Ground Zero. For fans waiting for that Dino Crisis remake, Ground Zero might be the closest thing that we'll get anytime soon. Inspired heavily by both Dino Crisis and Resident Evil, Ground Zero takes place in South Korea after a meteor strikes the country and alien-like creatures affects the residents, creating monsters, zombies, and even creatures that may or may not remind you of dinosaurs. The combat is similar to other classic survival horror games combined with mechanics that you see in Dino Crisis, like the ability to score points and exchange it for resources. You even have a badass footblade to use during combat as well to finish off the deadly alien creatures that attack you. All in all, it may not be the Dino Crisis remake that you've been waiting for, but fans of that classic survival horror game will probably be happy with this love letter to it until we do eventually, one day, someday, get that remake. Capcom, please, just make it happen. Anyways, you can pick up Ground Zero exclusively on PC later this year. Number 8, A.I.L.A. While there are plenty of first-person horror games that are clearly inspired by PT, A.I.L.A. looks to take things in a different direction that makes it a little more unique than your typical horror walk-in simulator. In the case of this game, you play as a game tester, kinda fitting, right? Who has the opportunity to test out an immersive new AI called A.I.L.A. However, this AI has a mind of its own as it begins to grab a hold of you and toss you into different horror scenarios that make you face your greatest fears. What's more interesting about this game for me is that it looks to combine multiple different genres of horror into a single game that features different scenarios. For example, you'll have the opportunity to explore survival horror, psychological horror, action horror, and other subgenres of horror in this unique first-person horror game that'll appear to be unlike anything I've ever played before. Currently, there is no release date for A.I.L.A, but at the time of recording this video, the game plans to release later this year at some point on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. Number 7, The Sinking City 2. As a fan of Lovecraft, the original Sinking City game was an excellent survival horror game complete with its own unique style and humor. Now, I'll admit the first game was definitely less horror than I would have wanted, but from what we're seeing in the gameplay and trailers of the second game, it looks like that The Sinking City 2 will lean more heavily into the horror elements of Lovecraft's storytelling. I've said this in a previous video of mine, but The Sinking City 2 gives off Alone in the Dark remake vibes, but without the clunky gameplay mechanics and complete with more interesting and terrifying monster designs inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. The greatest part about the original game is that there were so many role-playing elements added into the story as well, which allows you to spend more time in this unique world and experience a story that's unlike anything you've ever experienced before. I seriously can't wait to play The Sinking City 2, and at the time of recording this video, it looks to release in Q4 of this year on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. Number 6, Luto. Ever since Visage, I've been dying to get my hands on the next PT clone. Sure, walking horror simulators are not the best games out there, and it's an oversaturated genre. However, whenever it's done right, they can leave a massive impact on you that'll stick with you long after you complete the game. Again, Visage is the perfect example of that. But while there have been plenty of games that tried to follow in the footsteps of Visage and PT, most of them come off as pale imitations of those games. Luto, on the other hand, looks to be the next PT clone that could very well reach the same highs as Visage did. By the way, the demo is available on Steam if you want to give this game a shot and see if it gives you the same PT and Visage vibes that it gives me. The best part is that you don't even have to wait long for this game, as it's set to release on July 21st of this year. Yeah, that's about 3 weeks from now. Let's go. Oh, and yeah, you can pick this game up on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. Number 5, Little Nightmares 3. As the first Little Nightmares game to feature co-op, I'm actually very excited to play this next entry with my wife. Full disclosure, I'm a newer fan of the series, as my first time playing both games was actually earlier this year. However, the horror puzzle platformer subgenre is something that's slowly starting to take over my life, and this franchise inspired me to go back and play other games in this genre like Limbo and Inside. Anyway, with this third entry being co-op now, and the fact that I don't even have to buy 2 copies for us to play together, yeah, I'm pretty hyped that me and my wife will have this game to play in October together. For those that have never played a Little Nightmares game though, they are most known for 2 things: atmospheric settings complete with terrifying takes on real life nightmares, and puzzle solving. If that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, then I definitely recommend checking this game out. In fact, Little Nightmares 3 has an offer right now in which pre-ordering the third game that releases on October 10th of this year also grants you free early access to the remastered version of the first game. And for those of you that have a PlayStation 5 at the time of recording this video, Little Nightmares 2 is also available to PS Plus members. Don't you love it when things just work out that way for you to play an entire trilogy all at once? Number 4, Cronos: The New Dawn. Before the release of Silent Hill 2 Remake, I'll admit I wasn't the biggest Bloober Team fan. I mean, they kinda left me with a bad taste in my mouth after playing the medium. However, Silent Hill 2 Remake proved to me that they were capable of delivering survival horror mechanics in their horror games. I mean, we always knew that they were great at developing immersive atmospheres, but it wasn't until Silent Hill 2 Remake that they proved to us that they can also give us games with modern survival horror mechanics. And now that they've proven that to us, you bet your ass I'm excited for their next project, Cronos: The New Dawn. This is a new IP being developed by Bloober Team, and this time it looks to be inspired by Dead Space. Yeah, we're getting a sci-fi survival horror game from Bloober Team now, and I couldn't be more excited. Even the gameplay reveals of Cronos looks fantastic, and it looks to be one of Bloober Team's most immersive games yet. I'm really excited for this game, as everything I'm seeing so far makes me think that this game could be the spiritual successor to the Dead Space franchise. Which, by the way, fuck EA if they end up not doing anything with the Dead Space IP anytime soon. Dead Space Remake was phenomenal. Anyways, at the time of recording this video, no release date for Cronos: The New Dawn, but Bloober Team claims that they are still aiming to release this game later this year on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. Number 3, Echoes of the Living. Echoes of the Living is a perfect love letter to fans of the original Resident Evil 2. If you love the classic trilogy of Resident Evil, then I would definitely keep your eyes on this game, because I don't think there will ever be an indie survival horror game that gets as close to classic Resident Evil as this game will get. Seriously, from characters to the setting to the overall vibe of the game, everything about this game screams Resident Evil 2 in the best way possible. I'm extremely excited for it because I played Liam's demo a while back, and man, it was fucking awesome. You have puzzles, iconic set pieces, limited resources, a city full of zombies, and a badass soundtrack that literally screams nostalgia from start to finish. Honestly, the only reason I don't have this game higher than my number 2 game is because that game is a sequel, so I already know what to expect from those developers. But with that being said, Echoes of the Living has a real shot to take away the title of best indie survival horror game of all time for me, which currently is held by Tormented Souls. I mean, look at the content that this very, very small 2% development team is trying to give us. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 separate campaigns, 2 of which releases later this year. Unfortunately, at the time of recording this video, Echoes of the Living is only set to release on PC, but hopefully, if the game does well enough, we can see it port over to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series in the future at some point. Seriously guys, go wishlist this game, especially if you're a hardcore fan of classic Resident Evil. Just saying. Number 2, Tormented Souls 2. Another demo that I had the opportunity to play was Tormented Souls 2. Honestly, before that demo, I had some concerns about this game, as it appeared that trailers and gameplay videos were completely avoiding combat. So I was a little concerned that there was going to be a lack of combat in this game compared to the original one. However, thanks to the demo I played a few weeks back, I'm happy to say that that's not the case. The gameplay is almost identical to what we saw in the original game, classic survival horror gameplay with tank controls complete with modern graphics courtesy of Unreal Engine 5. One of my favorite things about the original game is how difficult the puzzles were, though I do believe they did receive some criticism for their puzzle difficulty in that game, so hopefully they don't let that influence how hard or how easy they make the puzzles this time around. Still, everything about this demo reminded me of why the first game is, to this day, my favorite indie survival horror game of all time. I love the original game, and the second game looks to capture the same feelings and vibes I got from that game, but this time in a new setting that appears to allow you to visit different buildings within a small town of some sort. I'm so hyped about this game and I can't wait for it to release. Unfortunately, at the time of recording, we don't have a release date for Tormented Souls 2. However, recently, they've said that they still plan on getting this game out later this year, and I'm betting that Gamescom this year will announce the release date for the game. That would make a lot of sense after all, considering that it was Gamescom that revealed this game for the first time in 2023. Anyway, you can pick up Tormented Souls 2 when it releases on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC sometime this year, hopefully. Number 1, Silent Hill F. Before the release of Silent Hill 2 Remake and the gameplay reveal of Silent Hill F, I'll be honest, Silent Hill F wasn't exactly at the top of my most anticipated games of the year. However, Silent Hill 2 Remake killed it, and even though this game is being developed by a different team, this game actually looks pretty incredible. While I'm a bit bummed about the lack of firearms in this entry, the atmospheric setting of 1920s Japan combined with story writer Rikishi07, creator of the When They Cry series, has me really excited for what I expect to be one of the most disturbing entries of the Silent Hill franchise. And that's saying a lot considering how disturbing this franchise actually gets. If Konami can knock it out of the park with this next Silent Hill game, then they have officially won back my trust and faith in them when it comes to Silent Hill. Especially since Silent Hill 1 Remake is being developed by Bloober Team as we speak, and there's still another Silent Hill game in development that we haven't heard much about yet, that being Silent Hill Townfall. Regardless, because of what I've seen from this game so far, most of my faith has been restored in Konami when it comes to Silent Hill, and Silent Hill F is easily my most anticipated horror game in the second half of 2025. You can pick up Silent Hill F on September 25th of this year, on my birthday, on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC, and if you pre-order the deluxe edition, you can actually get access to the game 3 days early before its official release date. Which, I'll admit, is kinda scummy, I'm just throwing that out there. But that does it for this episode of Nerd Space Games. Hit up the comments and let me know what your most anticipated horror game of 2025 is. Is it Silent Hill F? Is it something else? Also, let me know of any horror games that you're excited for but didn't crack my list. Believe it or not, there's a ton of horror games scheduled to release later this year, and this list only represents a small fraction of them. Anyway, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more survival horror content. Also, leave a like on today's video if you enjoyed today's topic. But thanks for watching, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next episode of Nerd Space Games. Take care.